I'm here with Dr. Preetham. He matched into UMKC Missouri, and we're starting our Q&A of all the common questions that you guys have asked, and I hope this helps you. So say hi to Dr. Preetham. Preetham, say hi.
Yeah, hi.
So let's start, right? So the first question is, what is the importance of research for matching into US, and so what's better, like Indian research versus US research? Are publications a must with research?
Right. So first of all, research is a very important part of the CV.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in the US, a lot of programs in the US are becoming more and more research heavy.
Okay.
Develops a career because you should know how to communicate whatever you know onto the paper. So that is a whole like an eagle's view why you need research. But that said, publications are not a must, not at all. You need to show them that you're interested in all these things, right? So on ERA CV, just like I was mentioning previously, there are several categories. You can have articles which are published in peer-reviewed journals. You can have articles that are published on e-journals, which are not peer. And the publication status can be submitted. It can be in print. It can be already published. So all these things. And when you apply, and after that, let's say you applied on September 15th, and November 30th, you got your approval for the article. You can just shoot an email to all these PDs saying that, hey, just I would like to just notify you that my article is getting published, and just hope you make a note of it. And that'll matter. So just keep that in mind. Even if you just submitted an article, you can put that on the ERA CV. So try to at least submit. For people who are in medical school, try to take up an ICMR. When you go for your clinics, postings, try to pick up an interesting case, approach your professors, ask them how to write a case report. For people who are doing internship, definitely look for review articles and case reports. For people who graduated, the ultimate thing for research would be a research fellowship. But that takes up 2 years. That can be done by people who are already graduates. It's a paid position. There's a J1 research category. A lot of people do it. And it is one of the best things to boost up a CV. But it takes a lot of time. So just keep that in mind. So
and it takes a lot of money too, right? Because they don't pay you.
No, it is a paid position. So for the first 6 months, they might not pay you. But from then on, like for the next 1.5 years, you'll get paid.
Yeah, then they see that you're good and you're giving effort, they'll start paying you. So that's how it is.
That's how it is. But it takes up a lot of time. So, but publications are not a must. There are a lot
of US. Okay, so US research is way better than Indian research if you can get your hands on US research.
It's just like research fellowship, where you publish at least 2-3 papers, greater than case reports or review articles published in US journals.
Yeah,
is greater than Indian research, is greater than no research.
Yeah, so that puts it out like very clearly. Yeah, makes sense. So let's get on to the second question. What is the importance of observerships, electives, and how to get a good LOR? Like, how do you get a good LOR, and what is the importance of USCE? So observerships and electives.
So like,
how does it help you? Like, and what are the advantages of doing it, and what do you learn from it in a way? Like,
right. So point number one, many programs it is a requirement for them that you have some amount of US clinical experience, because they want to know that you have been in the system before, and we will not be the people who will be giving you the first kind of exposure. So they want to know that you've been here before in this situation. Point number one. Point number two, by getting into some kind of an elective here, and doing a lot of groundwork, networking. Just like I said, you want to impress people. You want to talk to the residents, the chief resident, the program director, whoever. Just talk, just make friends there.
Okay.
If you take up an elective in a place where there is a good prospect for you to match or for you to get an interview from, you should go there and make friends there. So network is, if somebody asks me what is the most important thing to get matched, I will not say Medschool, I will not say STEPS course or USC also. I will say networking.
All right.
Because just imagine this whole situation from their point of view. There is a PD. He is convincing the hospital to pay $60,000 to you per annum.
Okay.
He is not going to just read a piece of paper and get you, to know over in an interview which lasts for 1 day.
Yeah.
The real judgment. If you make friends with them, they know you. It is reliable. It becomes, you can say, safer for them to take you. Like, I know you now. If I become the PD, I'll be like, yeah, I know Manik. I'm going to take him. I have spoke to him. Even though he fucks up in an interview, I don't care. Because I know Manik otherwise. I know he's fit for the job. I will take him. Right?
He's a bro. He's a bro.
As opposed to a person, even if he scored 270, I don't know him. I feel much more safe with you, taking you.
Okay.
that's the kind of, so you should make friends with them. For example, if you go to Mayo Clinic, right, make friends there. There are big people there, and one of them just makes a call to the PD, and that PD was, let's say, his student, and he'll be like, like, hi, how are you, Dr. So and so? Like the student who had come to me for an elective, he was really good. He has good communication skills. He has good work ethic. He's very punctual, disciplined. He's a hard worker. He knows his stuff. You're like, oh my God, my mentor is telling me to take him. Give me one reason why I shouldn't take him.
Yeah.
So that is why networking is the most important thing for a person to match. So all those things you get from USC, and not just to be a part of your CV. You need clinical experience for all these things.
That's what people don't understand. They think like just getting USCE is enough. Like they don't understand that when you go there, there's an opportunity to develop a network, to develop friendships with people that can come in handy later.
Right, exactly. And how to get a good LOR? Well, when you make friends with them, you practically get a good LOR. There are some people who say, like, can you give us some points? Because they're very busy. So, like, can you give us some points that we can add on to your LOR? Take advantage of that. Put in good clinical cases that you saw, and you suggested some diagnosis. Because those stories, if they appear in an LOR, those things are very impressive. And if you approach a person saying, I'm really interested in this case, can we make a case report out of this? That tells them that you're interested. If you ask them questions, that tells them that you're interested.
Okay.
So all those things do matter.
And yeah, again, regarding like how do you get a good LOR? Like, what's the difference between LOR from an observership versus an elective? Like, how does that make a difference in the LOR?
In the LOR, let's say in observership, you can be like things like, okay, so this person, there's a person who came in with throat pain and HIV, and you suggested a retropharyngeal abscess because you saw some examination finding there. Somebody was seeing and you saw that, and pharyngeal abscess. That's one. That's what happens in an observership. And let's say you mentioned that story in the LOR. Okay, so keep that aside now.
Yeah.
Now you go for an elective, you get the same patient, right?
Okay.
You yourself took the history and examination, went to the attending with this diagnosis, make the patient note in the computer for the attending, tell them that, this patient has to be transferred there, because now you have knowledge, you have some kind of access to the patient records, you see the full history, you tell them that, this patient needs to be transferred. You are more involved in patient care. You help the patient with food, you help the patient to go here, to go there, you help the patient to go get an X-ray, whatever. More involved the patient. So the story will contain of the patient interaction and not just suggesting a diagnosis.
So there's a lot to write in an elective, like in the LOR for an elective versus an observership, because there's not much of a story.
Exactly. So the
So
people are interested in that story.
I get it. Makes sense.
That's how you get a good LOR. And that is
they can do so much of stuff in an elective, like because you're allowed to touch the patient and interact with them on such a personal level that they can write about you. Versus in an observership, you just can't do that. So yeah, makes sense. Okay, so and what aspects of CV are important? What can be done to improve your residency application while in medical school or out of medical school?
So like I said, in terms of research, just take up some kind of project while in medical school. I mentioned those things in terms of research. In terms of US clinical experience, there are a lot of resources how you can make a list of programs that can take you. Okay. I will try to include that link. I will give it to you. You can include that in the description. But do your own research.
All right.
Go to a website. Let's say Cleveland Clinic. Right. Go to the website. There are forms there. There are application start dates, deadlines. When you do a lot of research when you're in medical school, you know. Okay, so they open up in May. So let me give my step one in, let's say, March. Okay. So that kind of planning is very important, which I told you I did not do. So it will be very helpful for you if you do that kind of planning when you're in medical school itself, when you're final year or when you're doing internship, when you work the timeline out. That is going to be very important. How to boost up your CV by doing these things, and by doing some kind of volunteer experience. You can do that. Volunteer experience is, so work experience is any medical activity inside a hospital. Volunteer experience is any medical or non-medical activity outside a hospital. So let's say I was a part of an immunization camp, health camp. So when we have an internship, we have RHTC, right? Rural Health Training Center rotations. So I was in a distant place, 60 kilometers from Mumbai, and I was a part of a vaccination camp. We do that every week right there as regular immunization. And I presented it in the form of a camp. And for people there, immunization camp is very new for them. Like, oh my God, what is an immunization camp? So I wrote clearly that I was involved in the logistics of an immunization camp. So they asked me, what is cold thing? How did you ensure that the temperature was maintained? What exactly would you do in a day? So all those things you can do, volunteer stuff. So in Mumbai, some people mentioned that they were in beach warriors to clean the beach. All those, it matters. Like it shows up on your CV. It is like there. Yeah.
Like that just goes to show that they want a complete package. They don't want just someone, like who's just studying all day. They want someone who's like doing stuff, like, this kind of volunteer experience, or like they have an interest in doing this kind of thing.
Because that shows that you are humane. You have that.
You're not a machine.
You have that helping nature, whatever. Like you said, a complete package. And community hospitals especially, they get impressed when you have a very good volunteer experience.
Okay. So what happens during an interview? Like, so you're starting an interview, right? So just like let us, through like the process of how an interview goes, and so yeah.
Sure. So first you have a pre-interview dinner in most programs. If you're in New York or Chicago, most certainly not, because it's very expensive. Otherwise, in smaller places, you'll have like a pre-interview dinner where you will get to interact with residents and only residents. Okay. No PDs, no attendants, just residents. Very informal chat. Ask them how it's going to be the next day. Ask them where they live. Ask them where they hang out. Such questions. How happy are you? Such questions. Very informal talk. You go back, have one drink, not more. Go back, sleep.
Sleep. All right. Yeah.
Sleep, and the next morning, early in the morning, you'll be called, and then you go for the interview wherein you'll have breakfast. Okay. And there'll be a welcome session by the PD or the vice chair or the chair of the program. You will have, or of the department, you'll have a welcome session, right? And after that, you'll have interviews. Now the interviews can be one-on-one interviews. They can be long panel interviews. They can be short, long, shorter 15, 20 minutes, longer 45 minutes sometimes, 30, 45 minutes. So what happens, like I said, in an IM interview, they're very friendly people. They'll ask you, like, tell me about yourself. It's the most annoying question ever. Because by the end of so many interviews, you don't want to talk about yourself. You're like, oh my God, please, not about me, like something about tell me about yourself is the most common question. Then they'll ask, what's up, what's going on? What do you do nowadays? Are you just attending interviews or doing something else? Why do you want to come to the US? Why internal medicine? And see, they know of your medical knowledge. They are not going to test you. They are not going to ask you which enzyme is important in this process. No. Please do not don't freak out that way. Nobody's going to ask you anything. The max they can ask you is they give you a scenario. They're like, okay, there is this patient who needs a pressor. Is what you think. And there is a nurse who says, no, I don't think this guy needs a pressor. How are you going to resolve the conflict? Oh. And I obviously not say, I'll say, fuck the nurse. I'll just like, they're not going to say that, right? You not go. That's my point. So you will obviously say, I will try to have a dialogue with the nurse. I will try to convince her. I will look up my resources, reason with her and all those things. So nothing, don't be intimidated by the interview. That's what I would say. It's going to be a very friendly affair. At the end of it, there'll be a bye-bye speech. And that's it. You're done for the day.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just like keep a mental note of whatever is happening. The times that comes in handy. Not about how much sunlight there is in the corridors, but things like things which are important to you. How are the fellowship match rates? Are the attendings friendly?
Yeah.
What do the residents say? Do they get enough research opportunities?
Okay.
And in an interview as such, answering questions is very important. Asking questions is just as important.
Okay, that's something new I've never heard of. Yeah.
If you won't ask questions, it's like you're not interested.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, you go out on a date. So you ask questions like, how was your day? You just don't go blabbering about how my day was, like how your day. Ask the other person, right? So it's basically a date.
Yeah.
But basically a date.
Yep. Yeah. So how many programs should one apply for generally?
So I would say no less than 100. Don't be overconfident and apply like I'm going to get so many interviews. I'll apply only for like 80. No. Please, if you're a non-US IMG, apply for 100 programs. And over and above that, it depends. Like if there are resources like Residency Explorer and FRIDA, there are these popularly used search engines. You can use them to search a residency program according to what filters you want to set. Like you want to set my step 1 score was this, my CK score was this. I have so much work experience. According to that, FRIDA and Residency Explorer will filter out the programs for you. Okay. Yeah. So that is what I meant when I said you make a list of your own. Now, if you can afford, apply for all of them. Like nobody's going to stop you. Right? Apply for all of them. But also, if you do a lot of research, go to each program's website and see if that program is fitting for you. Then you apply. You can do with applying for let's say 130 programs also, 150 programs also. So at least 100 plus, and the normal range is between 160 and 200. So the rest is on you. And So if you research yourself, like not depend on others, Excel sheets. If you do your own research, you will come to know some things. Like in some websites, they mention that we want, in your personal statement, we want to know what your plans are.
Okay.
Right? In general, a personal statement is about you. Is about what kind of a person I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What you are going to deal with if you take me. That's personal statement generally. But in some places, they want a statement included in that. So what your plans are. I want to do cardiology. I want to intervention cardiology. I want to eventually become an academic. I want to eventually do this, do that. This is my trajectory. Expected. This is what I have planned. My trajectory would look like. So all those things. So you have to you might end up making different personal statements for different programs. So that sort of a thing. It's a little complex.
Okay. Makes sense. And okay, how does one like plan a daily study routine? Like while suppose somebody is giving the step to CK while going through electives, and maybe you're gonna give you a step to CS going through electives. So how do you like plan according to that, like your study routine? So you're gonna study for those exams.
Right. So I mean that's a very like a video in itself, I would say. But if you ask me about study routine,
The gist of it, like how do you?
I would study 8 hours a day. I was doing my internship side by side, so I could study 8 hours a day, and that study generally included both doing questions and study. I would never just study. For step one, after I finished my first aid, I would do questions and study. And I would say, I don't know if many people say this, but flashcards and making your own notes, looking at this. So my favorite pastime. So I am in Mumbai, a lot of traffic. So I used to get 2 hours per day of just traveling.
Okay.
In those 2 hours, I used to look at two things. One is my flashcards.
Are you saying Anki?
Anki.
Yeah.
One was that. I used to look at my Anki text. Number one.
Okay.
Number two, I had this Robbins Atlas pathology. So I used to just go through those images and read the description.
Okay.
Something like that. Because what you need for these exams is multiple revisions in whatever way and connecting one to the other. Like integrating, like you said in that video, integrating everything. So plan your study routine according to that. If you're trying to balance it out for example, CS, if you're trying to balance it out with electives, which is generally the case, do your first aid cases the previous evening, some of them, and try to get hold of a similar case and take the case by yourself. Write a patient note for yourself. Use the elective, the cases that you see in the electives as real first aid, real step 2 CS cases.
Yeah, so that you kind of get that experience. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I never thought of that. That's a really good point. When, according to you, should one take is there steps? Step one, should they take it in their third year or should they take it after internship? And how much of a difference does that make? Should they take it like in their third year or during internship, after internship?
So during third year, I have asked some of my friends, and what they say is, even though third year was comfortable because third year medical school in India especially is a little chill. So you get time to study. For sure, you can do that. But you should have a clinical orientation. People say first aid is all about theory, all about those mechanisms and all those things.
Yeah.
But it's as important for you to be clinically oriented. That you get when you do a final year.
Yeah, I agree so much with that. So one of my seniors did the same thing, and so he gave it in his internship. Yeah, and he told me that like step one itself is so clinical. Like just by knowing first and second year, like in India especially, like they don't train you enough to see like through clinical vignettes and how to solve like those vignettes. Like I think that's a very important point that people don't get.
Yeah.
Like, and
I know that they're in a hurry to give their step one. A lot of people do that. I've heard in fact that a lot of people from AIMS after the second year they give their step one. But I don't know. I mean, I never even got a chance because my college doesn't allow me. So I never got a chance to do that. But I asked my friend and she told me that I think I could have done slightly better had I given it in my internship. So I think I would do that. It's better to take a step one in your internship. Step to CK, try to give your step to CK after step one for two reasons. Like I said, because first of all, you don't have a lot of solid resources for CK, right? And secondly, step 2 CK has a lot of content from step 1.
Yeah, that's so damn true. Like I'm preparing for step 2 CK right now, and it looks like step 1. It's just like one more extra step, like regarding diagnosis and all, and like what is the first best test, like kind of like that.
Right. So don't be like, okay, so I'm giving my steps in internship, so I am very well versed with all the like all the medicine, surgery, gynae. So let me give my step 2 CK first, because I was confused what to do first. But then it was step 1, give your step 1 first, and then do your step 2 CK. Step 2 CS, you can take it after step 1 or after step 2 CK. Don't let it be the first step that you take, because even though step 2 CS is a lot about communication skills, but that people say so because they've already done the knowledge portion of it in one of their exams. So you need for step 2 CS.
Oh.
But Yeah, but because you need to know the differential diagnosis and stuff. And that you'll get only after you prepared either for step 1 or step 2 CK.
Okay,
Don't underestimate that knowledge part in step 2 CS.
makes sense.
Yeah, and as far as step 2 CS is concerned, again, try to take it after you do one elective.
Okay, so that you kind of get that US experience.
Exactly. You know how the people there are. You know,
Okay.
if you're not doing the elective and directly giving step 2 CS, it's fine. There's a very high chance you might pass, with flying colors. But it is better to do an elective and then go for step 2 CS. That saves your trip. That also helps you in giving the exam as such. So, timing wise, that's my take.
Okay, and how does your year of graduation affect your match?
So, less than 3 years they're okay with that.
Okay.
More than 3 years, they need a solid reason why you did not. Some kind of clinical training. Let's say you did MDPs in India, and you're not very satisfied. You decided no, you want to practice in the US, and then that your biology will become 5 years automatically, right? So that's okay. If you do something, that's fine. If your biology is again high, try to do like a good, because you cannot do electives because you graduated already. So try to do a research fellowship, an F1 research or a J1 research fellowship, something of that sort. But biology does matter. There are, again, just like US clinical experience, some of the programs have limits. Like we will not take people with more than 5 years of graduation.
Yeah, I know, because I went on Yale's website and they mentioned that specifically, if you spend more than 6 years in medical school, we won't take you. They have that.
Right. So they have such things. Again, not very hard and fast. I know one senior who had like a little high biology, but he matched in an excellent program.
Okay. So it's not a hard and fast rule, but it is indeed a factor that matters.
But don't change your timeline from 3 years to 2 years just because you think biology matters and compromise on your course. Don't do that. Because so people who have 2 years of biology and 1 year of biology, not a very big difference.
Yeah.
I did 1 year because I have my own personal reasons, but 2 and 1 doesn't really matter. So don't compromise the scores and don't be in a hurry, is what I'm trying to say.
And one more thing. So step 1 is going pass and fail, right? So how do you think that affects everything in a way? And do you think so I think a lot of so everybody's saying that step 2 CK will become the new benchmark and you have to score very well. But I think that you need to prepare for step 1 very well to score high on step 2 CK. Exactly. So what's your view on that?
So yeah, my view is that it's not a very great thing for non-US IMGs, especially because let's say people from around here and even people from Jordan, Saudi, they score really high on their steps, right?
Yeah.
We score high on our steps as compared to the US population. So we have something to show. Now we have one less thing to show.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, you cannot escape on step 1 preparation. You will have to do it as well as you would have before because you need to step to CK.
Yeah, so that's what I've been thinking about. That people are like, oh my god, step 1 is going pass and fail. Now I just want to just pass. But if you just prepare step 1 for passing, you're not going to do that well on step 2 CK itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think about 40 to 50% of step 2 CK is based on step 1. Because I see the same questions over and over again.
Yeah. And also, I think that now because step 1 is going pass fail, you have one less thing to show. There will be a lot of emphasis on research and US clinical experience. So be for that, because I mean, I don't know, unless NRMP releases some kind of math statistics, we won't know what exactly matters. But this is just what I think it is.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
We cannot do anything about it anyway.
So better, just make a strategy and prepare for step 1 well, and that hope that helps in step 2.
And give a little more importance to electives than you would have given before, especially because of this.
Electives and research, right?
Yeah, a little more importance.
And how early should one apply for the match?
Definitely by September 15th, 9 a.m. Eastern time, your application should be in there. Work out your timeline backwards, starting from September 1st.
Okay.
Right. September 15th should actually be your deadline to apply. It's actually not the deadline, but you should apply September 15th, right? But there's one document which is the medical school performance evaluation that comes up from your school.
Okay.
CV and then your MSPE.
Yeah.
So CV should be gone in by September 15th. MSPE goes in by October 1st. So October 1st onwards, the programs will start receiving your whole package, your CV plus your MSPE. So the latest you should consider applying is October 1st.
Okay.
But you should try for September 15th.
Okay.
Right? So that is how early you should apply. And if you ask me, are the chance of getting an interview, does it go down drastically? Well, some people say it does. So after September 2025, if you apply, then a lot of people take first and they will filter you out.
Oh,
even on September 21st, 5th. And after October 1st, it definitely falls. The chance of you getting an interview is definitely goes down. The probability goes down. Okay. Now, a few other things which people forget about and which I realized this time when I was applying. Number one, LORs, when you upload them. So first of all, your preceptor has to upload your LOR. You cannot do it directly, right? So you have to, and LORs take a 1 week, I think, period to get processed and come onto your CV. 1 week, right? Same for your MSP or all those things. So 1 month before, start sending reminders to your preceptors, because some people do, electives like 3 years before.
Yeah.
And they would have almost forgotten about them. Right? Okay. So it's important that you keep reminding them that, my application is going to start now. So I wanted to upload. July 15th, only the ERAS application opens. You can start reminding people to upload your LORs because it takes a little time. Because if you don't upload your LOR, your full application won't go by September 15th. Then that will again be considered as a delay, maybe considered as a delay.
So everything should be like, other than MSPE, everything should be ready by September 15th.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, what is the scope of a match if there are multiple attempts on a step? So do you know of any experience, like a person who had multiple attempts on a certain exam, and how does it affect everything?
So some programs openly admit to it that they will not take people with multiple attempts. Some don't, right? But unfortunately, any attempt on any exam, be it step 1, step 2, CK, CS, it does not show the applicant in a very good light, right? So you definitely have to consider that. You have to live with that now, that you have an attempt. But so the scope is definitely less. I tried looking for statistics as to how does it affect and this and that. But there are statistics and they are low. But statistics, what they don't take into consideration is what each person takes, effort. The effort that each individual takes. That is not accounted for. Like, I'll give you an example. So if it's a person who has an attempt in, let's say, CS, okay, let's say CK, and then they give the CK again, and they have good scores, let's say double 245s or double 240s and above on 1 and CK, and then they pass CS in the first attempt, right? And then they did like 6 months of clinical electives if they were not a graduate, or they did a 1 year of research fellowship or 2 years of research fellowship in a program, in program X. Now that person knows all the people. He or she does networking. That person will know all the people in that program X. Networking and making friends and all those things. And it's just like that. Now they start considering this person as a prospect. This person may be considered for a residency position. So if you spend like a good amount of time with them, you get to know them, they get to know you. You take these efforts, then there is a good scope that you match in that particular program.
Yeah, and statistics don't take that into account because, again, you can't just put a number on a person. That's hard.
The amount of that kind of effort that you make, like you said, you cannot put a number next to it. So that if that individual effort is there, then maybe. And in terms of my own experiences, I know a person who had an attempt in one of the exams, and he still got a lot of interviews, and he matched this cycle into a good program.
Oh, so yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
And so, what is the scope of IMGs to get into prestigious medical programs? Like, people tell me like they want to get into John Hopkins, they want to get into Yale, and so what do you think about that? It's
certainly good to have very high aspirations, but don't be sad if you don't make it. Like, for example, I know a person who was doing a 2-year research fellowship in Johns Hopkins. She did not get called for the interview also in the same campus.
That's sad.
Right. So maybe again, it depends on that individual, how much he or he did take the effort, but still. So it's difficult to get called from those people, some such prestigious programs, because they don't like to take a chance.
Okay.
Like, I want a person who has already been in the US, who knows the way, how it works here and all. They don't like to take chances. But all that said, if you do a research fellowship, you take you publish 2-3 papers, and you have 6 months of clinical experience, and you have a YOG of 2 years or 3 years doing all this, then you might get taken into a prestigious program. Because I know in this cycle, one of my friends, she was from some other medical school. She applied for an international scholar track. There are these tracks in some programs. So that research is required. You should go to the websites and check. Are there any special tracks for people who are coming from outside? It's like right? So in that international scholars track, she got a position this year. and she had done a fellowship in Mayo Rochester.
Okay.
2 years of research fellowship or 1 year of research fellowship in Mayo Rochester, and now she's going to go to this program. It is very prestigious, one of those Ivy League programs.
Okay, she got into an Ivy League because I hear this a lot that everybody wants to get into Harvard, people want to get into Yale, people want to get into Columbia. Like,
Yeah. So when I started out, I was like, I am going to go to Brigham's.
okay.
But I made peace with it because it takes a lot of effort in terms of sacrificing.
And
time.
sometimes that's the person.
Yeah, sometimes it varies now. For you, it may be worth it. For me, it may not be worth it. For some other third person, it may be worth it. I cannot say. But the answer to the question, what is the scope? It is based on that individual.
Okay.
I cannot give you a number, but it is based on that individual. And it is possible. It may not be probable, but it is definitely possible.
Okay, that's what about scope of IMGs to get into competitive specialities? Do you know any of your friends who got into like a specialty like plastic surgery? Like, because I know of a person from here who got into orthopedic surgery, and I know how hard it is. Like, and people do get into it. So, what's your view like? So, in your math cycle, and what about your friends who applied for like those competitive specialities like radiology? Like, so what's your view on that?
So I know 3 people. So 2 of them got surgery. One got
Okay.
so one prelim, but surgery, and one got orthopedic surgery.
That's crazy. Like people getting into orthopedic surgery. I'm like,
and another person I know, she got into thoracic surgery, straight thoracic surgery.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
So again, what they did differently was they did everything that is possible. They did all the electives in that field. That's why. So that girl who got into cardiothoracic surgery, she did that what do you call it? Electives in like 3, 4, 5 months electives in CTS itself, right? And even these people got into surgery, orthopedic surgery. They did electives only in those fields, 3, 4, and they got excellent LORs from them. Excellent, because they were actually very impressed, and they told them, it was not that they saw the LOR, but they told them, the preceptors told them that we liked you so much and we've written a very good LOR, so don't worry. So amazing LORs from electives in that same specialty will definitely help. And that person who got into ortho surgery, she had done and again a research fellowship. So she had published some papers, and she had attended a lot of international conferences, and she got it. So again, it's very much.
Okay, what about the scores and all? Were they good or?
So according to NRMP, 250 will clear you for every specialty, including intervention radiology, right?
Okay.
But for surgery, 245 is enough. For psychiatry, earlier it used to be less. Now it is going up, right? Because now there's money in psychiatry. So the scores, so it is becoming more and more competitive.
Yeah.
Right. So it is coming into that competitive specialty specialty sort of group. For the advanced surgical specialties, again you need like 245s, 250s. So simply put, if you have a double 250, you are safe. You can apply whichever specialty. Dermat, sometimes people say 260s though. Dermat. And in terms of getting into those competitive specialties, a lot of them have PGY1 as a prelim year. So there is a categorical position in which you get a contract for 5 years straight. And there another pathway, that is you do a 1 year prelim. Okay. You impress the people there. They write a very good LOR. Yeah, this person did a very good internship, right? And then the next part of the 4 years, you'll again interview for a PGY2 position. Okay. And that's a different pathway. So 1 plus 4 is one pathway. State 5 is one pathway. So even if you have not done so much that you can get a direct categorical position, and you still are desperate to get that particular specialty, then you can go for a prelim, do extremely well in the prelim, get like good scores on step 3, and again apply for a PGY2 position. That's what people do for anesthesia and dermatology if they want.
Okay. So get a prelim position there, and then you have to get a good step 3 score and plus impress them and try to get into PGY2.
PGY2 directly in some other program or in the same program. So this is what is called, this is what is meant by putting your foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
You take a prelim position, you just you enter the system and then make your way.
And what was the toughest thing according to you about your whole USMLE journey? Like if we go through like from starting to end, what was the toughest thing? Like what are the steps, preparation for them? Were it going to electives, or were it applying for the match thing and going through interviews? So what was the toughest thing?
So for toughest part was balancing internship, studies for steps, and paperwork. So when I started out, with my USMLE journey, I applied for my passport.
Yeah.
I didn't have a passport before.
Yeah.
So applying for a passport, applying for a B1, B2 visa, the uncertainty associated with how the interview is going to go. A lot of people, put out a lot of rumors. It depends on the person. You may not get it, you may get it.
Yeah.
You need to have so much bank balance. And pulling out my dad's property papers, showing my family ties to India. I am going to go back. Trying to find a good matching tie with your shirt. So all those things. And like even now, the whole documentation thing is so, like it sucks all the energy, all happiness. It's like mental. I don't know how to put it. But
even for matching, you must have so many documentation, because I know.
begging the college for documents is the hardest part. Like, please, guys, what is the problem with me? Like, please release the documents. And here in India, colleges are used to not giving out any documents after you pass out.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any ties to them. But USMLE is something where you need documents even after you graduate, right? So you asking college to please contact ECFMG, I would have made like maybe 50, 100 calls. So that was, everything put together. I think some 15 documents, at least 15 important documents I would have had released from my college, getting letters of recommendation from the dean, from faculty, HOD. That's not paperwork. It is very difficult.
And that's going to make you like...
Yeah. Emotionally toughest part was, for people who are in India, they will understand that everybody says, people are preparing for NEET PG. Oh my God, you guys doing USMLE, you just have one book to read. It's just simple. I don't
USMLE is easy. I've heard this, like USMLE is too easy. I'm like...
feel like slapping them. Okay. And I told them on their faces that it's not the case. It's difficult.
Yeah.
So emotionally that, like to still make a straight face and control yourself and not say anything to them was emotionally very tough for me.
Like you guys have no fucking paperwork. Look at us.
You just like, oh my God, totally. Anyway, and finances, don't talk about it.
Yep.
I took a loan. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for taking all the time, for being with us and sharing all of your journey. Like, I have so much of gratitude for that. And I'm so thankful for that.
But I never got a chance to share my journey online on forums because I'm not that kind of a person. Because I'm like, like once my step is and I'm done. Like, I don't like look back at it again. So now it was very happy for a few reasons. First is I got to express myself. I got to talk about what I did. And second, talking about it, you relive the experience. You sort of get a little emotional also. When you talk about your struggles, there are goosebumps. So it's helping me also. So thank you so much for calling me over this interview, first experience. And I hope people gain something from this video. Yeah.
Me too.